Okay, so let's dive into this. We've got these sources you sent over, and they're all about modern dating, right? Navigating that whole complex scene.
Yeah, exactly. And like the picture they paint is pretty stark, you know. Your material describes it as what, swiping through a
Right, a
minefield?
minefield and potentially hiding emotional hand grenades. That really stuck with me. So the core idea seems to be spotting certain personalities to, well, avoid disaster.
That's the heart of it. And the sources are clear this isn't about just like slapping labels on people to judge them.
No, more practical.
Exactly. It's about recognizing patterns, behaviors that can really undermine a healthy relationship. So, our mission here, based on what you sent, is to unpack these common red flag types.
To help you spot potential pitfalls.
Yeah, based on this material.
And there are quite a few listed here. The sources mention 10 common ones, and then another 5 that are maybe a bit trickier to see at first.
Right, totaling 15 patterns or behaviors the material flags as things to be aware of.
15 sounds like a lot, but the descriptions are, well, they're really vivid.
They are. Some great analogies in there. Should we just jump
Yeah.
into the first one? The one the material says is common but maybe gets overlooked.
Let's do it. First up, the narcissist.
Okay. And the description here is pretty memorable. Walks into a room like it's her runway.
And you're just the audience clapping.
Yeah, exactly. And the perspective is fascinating. The source says they think us basically just spells me.
Always needing praise, like a plant needs sunlight, but without the empathy part.
Right. Zero emotional depth, according to this. And yeah, that initial confidence can be magnetic, can't it?
Mm-hmm. But the warning is you end up just being their mirror.
Reflecting admiration back while you kind of fade away. The takeaway from the source seems to be, it's all take. Maybe get a selfie out of it.
A selfie as the reward. Okay, that paints a clear picture. What's next on the list?
The gold digger. And the description here is, well, pretty direct.
Your credit card gets more affection than your heart.
That's the one. Cuts right to it. The source says she's less into you, more into your bank balance.
So you might notice compliments about your stuff, your car, whatever, more than about you.
Exactly. Your character takes a back seat, and the telltale sign, the material suggests, her eyes light up when money's involved. A bonus, a fancy dinner.
That's when the sparkle happens.
Mm-hmm. The source is firm. This is business, not love. It's transactional, not relational.
Okay, that distinction is key. Next, the control freak. The sources frame this as less like dating, more like having a dictator move in.
Yeah, pretty much. They don't suggest, they mandate. Wants to know everything.
Where you are, what you're wearing, who you texted.
Even why you're breathing that way, the source jokes. But it calls it surveillance, not love. That's a strong word.
And it points out it often starts small, right? Like cute concerns.
Totally. Oh, babe, don't wear that. I just care. But then, plank, and she's tracking your lunch break via GPS.
Wow. The analogy was dating a Sims character you micromanaged.
Yeah, that really captures that invasive feeling, doesn't it? Like you've lost your autonomy.
It really does. Okay, moving on. The chronic liar. I liked the analogy here about the excuses.
Oh, the Mount Everest one.
Yeah. Oh, it was just a white lie. And the source says, sure, and Everest is just a speed bump.
It highlights the scale, right?
Right.
It's not just little fibs. The source talks about building a whole world of fiction.
And you're cast as the fool, lying about big things, job, past, even just what they did Friday night.
And the core point the source makes is, well, trust is everything, isn't it?
The foundation.
Exactly. But if her story changes more than her Instagram filters, you're basically dating a fantasy, not a person. It's exhausting.
That instability. Yeah, I get that. What about the commitment phobe?
Yeah.
The one who introduces you as just a friend after months.
Mm-hmm. Or, you mention anything vaguely future related.
And she looks at you like you suggested naming your firstborn tax return.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Loves the chase, hates the finish line. The source calls them emotionally allergic to labels, responsibility, stability.
So the takeaway is pretty simple if you want a partner for the long haul.
She's looking for the exit. That's what the material says. And that ghosting thing after a deep chat,
Yeah.
that's a strategy, apparently. A way to push back when things get too real.
Okay, good pattern to know. Shifting slightly, the drama magnet. Chaos in heels.
Right. You think you're getting into a relationship, but nope, it's a season pass to a soap opera.
And you're an unwilling cast member. Always conflict. Every ex is toxic. Every colleague is out to get her.
Everything's a crisis. And the source points out, even quiet moments, like a Tuesday night, somehow blow up into a huge fight over nothing.
They thrive on the adrenaline.
Seems like it. The contrast is key. Relationships should bring peace, ideally, not constant migraines.
Peace versus chaos. Definitely a flag. Okay, the jealous type.
Yeah.
The example was smiling at a waitress leads to an interrogation.
Like you're at Guantanamo, yeah.
Yeah.
She doesn't trust you. She polices you. And the source notes it's usually her insecurity.
But you pay the price, the emotional taxes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everyone's suspect. Friends, your sister. Maybe she thinks your phone's cloned.
Wow. The material does say a little jealousy is normal, but this level.
It is toxic. Plain and simple. And that line really hits. Love without trust is just a slow, burning prison sentence.
Ooh. Yeah, that captures the feeling. Suffocating. What's next? The manipulator.
This one's tricky. The source asks, you ever feel like you're being emotionally blackmailed, but with a smile?
That's the one. Doesn't ask directly, just twist things. Uses guilt instead of expressing needs openly.
Yeah, and they're masters at rewriting the story, right? So somehow you're the bad guy, and they're the poor, misunderstood soul.
Even making you apologize for something they did.
Exactly. The source calls it emotional warfare, just dressed up nicely. It messes with your head.
Takes so much energy to deal with that constant distortion. Okay, then the victim. Always someone else's fault.
Always. The ex was awful, the boss is terrible, and eventually you might start looking like the villain too.
A total refusal to take accountability. The source describes them as always drowning.
But refusing to learn to swim, they won't help themselves.
So you become the emotional lifeguard, trying to save
Right,
them.
pouring all your energy in, and they might still blame you for the tide coming in. The warning is pretty sharp. Compassion's good, but martyrdom isn't a relationship goal.
Recognizing that helplessness cycle is key. Okay, last one in this first batch. The addict.
Yeah, the source is careful here. Acknowledges struggles, but this is about someone fighting a battle they often deny.
Whether it's substances, gambling,
Yeah.
even social media, the source mentions.
And the addiction becomes like this powerful third person in the relationship, often the most powerful.
And the hard truth from the source is, love can't fix it alone.
Exactly. Love can't cure addiction, and denial can't build trust. Until they commit to recovery, you'll always be second.
That's a tough reality. So that's the first 10. Now the sources move to 5 more that are maybe harder to spot.
Yeah, potentially more subtle, especially at first, starting with the emotionally unavailable person.
The charming but distant type, trying to catch smoke.
That's the description. Fun, maybe even passionate, but always just out of reach emotionally. They dodge the deep talk.
Like their FBI interrogations.
So you have flirtation, excitement, but no real intimacy or vulnerability. It's a ghost town inside, the source says.
And the point is you deserve someone who opens up, not...
Not someone hiding behind 17 walls and a moody playlist. That constant distance, despite the charm, is the signal.
That distance is hard when the surface seems great. Okay, then the love bomber. This sounds intense.
Extremely. Day 1, flowers.
Yeah.
Day 2, love letters. Day 3, they're planning your future mansion and naming the Labradors.
Like a whirlwind romance novel.
Exactly. But the source warns, this isn't spontaneous romance. It's often a tactic.
To get you hooked fast.
Yeah. And once you are, the script flips. The affection becomes controlling, or they just vanish. Pull the rug out.
Well, that emotional sugar rush at the
Is
start.
contrasted with real love, which the source says builds slower, more steadily. Love bombing often means a fast crash is coming.
The speed is the giveaway. Got it. Next, negative Nancy. Sees the cloud in every silver lining.
Pretty much. Sunshine, too bright, promotion, probably temporary. You, never quite good enough.
Sounds draining.
Totally. The source says they drain the room, drain your will to live. The vibe is described as,
Existential dread meets a Yelp reviewer from hell.
That's the one. Yeah. And the point is, life's tough enough, right? You want a partner, not your own personal rain cloud bringing doom and gloom everywhere.
Yeah, definitely don't need that extra weight. Okay, almost there. The cheater.
Right. You ask about someone, oh, he's just a friend.
And the source replies, sure, and I'm the
It
Queen of
captures
England.
that feeling of disbelief. They're described as addicted to attention, secrecy, betrayal.
Loyalty has a short
Apparently
battery
so.
life.
And the hard truth is you'll always be second fiddle to that next dopamine hit, that next bit of attention.
So the advice is pretty direct. History of cheating, excessive
Run.
flirting.
That's the strong suggestion. Because love should feel safe.
Not like a spy thriller.
Exactly. That constant suspicion just kills everything.
Okay, final one. The self-sabotage.
This is a tough one. Things are going great. Relationship feels good. Real connection.
And that's when they hit the detonate button.
Precisely. The source suggests it's rooted in a deep fear of happiness, of intimacy. When things get real, they push you away or wreck it somehow.
Their own fear of failure basically guarantees the
Kind
relationship
of.
fails.
And you end up constantly trying to fix things, prove yourself, walking on eggshells.
Trying not to trigger the next implosion.
Right. The source uses a blunt phrase. You feel like their emotional crash dummy, not their partner.
Wow, that's a painful cycle.
Definitely.
So, okay, that's the full list of 15 patterns the sources identify as these potential red flags in
Uh,
dating.
we've covered a lot of ground there.
And it really is worth saying again what the sources emphasize at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. These aren't meant as like permanent labels for judging people.
No, definitely not. They're presented more as observations, flags to notice.
Exactly. Red flags to observe. Behaviors that might signal deeper issues.
Because love is messy, it's complex, for sure. But the sources argue that losing yourself, your peace, your well-being in these dynamics, that's not really romance.
It's a lesson, often a hard one.
Which brings it back to you, listening. The whole point of digging into this material is about, well, empowerment.
Dating smart.
Yeah.
Keeping your standards high. Being aware so you can spot these things early.
Right. Avoiding, as the source dramatically puts it, turning your life into the next Netflix true crime doc.
Huh. Yeah, hopefully avoiding that. Using this awareness for self-protection,
Yeah.
basically, and choosing healthier paths.
Which actually leads nicely into a final thought, something for you to chew on based on all this.
Hmm.
How does recognizing these patterns, these potential red flags in others, how does that also help you get clearer on what you actually value, what you truly need, and frankly, what you deserve in a healthy, supportive connection for yourself?